In the savage, unforgiving landscape of the Pacific campaigns, military strategy was often dictated by the limitations of conventional firepower, creating what was universally known as the safety of distance. For the average infantryman, equipped with the standard M1 Garand or even the venerable M1903 Springfield, the maximum effective range was understood to be firmly within 400 to 500 yards. Beyond this range, the combination of bullet drop, windage, and the inherent inconsistency of standard scope mounting made a reliable kill shot a matter of chance, not calculation. As such, both American and Japanese forces adhered to an unwritten tactical agreement. Positions established beyond 600 yards were considered functionally safe from anything other than concentrated, slow, and often inaccurate mortar or artillery fire. This tactical safety zone became a crucial element of Japanese defense. They learned to position their high-value assets, command posts, communication centers, and heavy machine gun nests at these seemingly inaccessible ranges, confident that they could observe, direct fire, and operate with impunity. This doctrine created a frustrating bottleneck for the advancing Marines. They would achieve breakthroughs only to be pinned down by fire coming from positions they simply could not reach with their own rifles, forcing costly delays while artillery was called in, often too late. This critical flaw in long-range engagement was what one Marine sought to exploit. He recognized that if he could acquire or build a rifle capable of reliable, consistent, man-sized accuracy at twice the conventional range at 800 yards, he wouldn't just be sniping enemy soldiers. He would be collapsing the entire Japanese defensive strategy that relied on that buffer zone for its survival. The solution the Marine devised was not sourced from a factory or an armory, but was the culmination of relentless individual study and mechanical obsession, resulting in the prototype, a gun built for one. Recognizing the fundamental limitations of standard weapons, this Marine took a conventional bolt-action rifle, likely an M1903 or M1917, and subjected it to radical, unauthorized, and expensive modifications that pushed the weapon far outside military specifications. The most striking element of the prototype was its massive, free-floated heavy barrel, significantly thicker and longer than any standard rifle. This immense increase in mass was designed to minimize the harmonic vibration caused by firing, ensuring absolute consistency and thermal stability, a necessity for repetitive, long-range accuracy. The rifle was equipped with an unconventional, high-powered commercial scope, often acquired through personal funds or trade, mounted on custom, rock-solid brackets that ensured the zero would never shift, even under the brutal shock of combat. The action itself was meticulously polished, embedded into a uniquely shaped, heavy wooden stock, designed for optimal stability when firing from a prone or fixed position. The result was a weapon that was prohibitively heavy, difficult to carry, and utterly impractical for any infantry role, a deliberate creation optimized solely for one single extreme task, delivering a lethal round with perfect accuracy to the very limits of vision. It was an engineering marvel built in defiance of standardization, a singular instrument that demanded respect, but initially received only ridicule, simply because its sheer bulk and non-standard appearance made it a visual anomaly among the sleek, uniform M1 Garands. The moment the Marine introduced his unconventional weapon to his unit, he was met not with awe, but with the mockery and disdain of his fellow soldiers and immediate superiors. The sheer size and non-standard appearance of the prototype rifle made it an immediate target for ridicule. In a military environment obsessed with uniformity and speed, the massive, custom-built rifle was viewed as an eccentric curiosity, a cumbersome piece of junk better suited for a sporting range than the brutal, mobile warfare of the Pacific. Officers questioned its practicality, demanding to know how the Marine intended to carry the massive weight, let alone maneuver it through the dense jungle and up steep ridges. "You going bear hunting, Marine?" was the standard joke, often followed by cynical dismissals that the custom rifle would fail the moment it encountered real dirt and sustained fire. The snipers who were issued the standard M1 Garand or the lightly modified M1903 often viewed their comrade with suspicion, seeing his weapon as an unnecessary complication that violated the simple, reliable rules of the Corps. The most significant concern, and the source of the deepest military disdain, was the rifle's non-standardized nature, violating the sacred logistical doctrine of the U.S. military. Every armorer, supply officer, and quartermaster saw the weapon as a bureaucratic headache, a demand for specialized ammunition, or parts that they were not authorized to carry. The Marine endured the constant jokes, the rolled eyes, and the implied threats of disciplinary action, knowing that his conviction was far stronger than the petty ridicule. He knew that the very features that made the rifle cumbersome, the extra weight, the massive scope, the rigid assembly were the necessary preconditions for the surgical precision required to collapse the enemy's long-range defense, a truth only the upcoming, impossible engagement would prove. The tactical stalemate that defined the current sector of the conflict was entirely rooted in the enemy's confidence in the functional limitations of the American rifles. The Japanese command had established a crucial communications hub, a reinforced machine gun nest, and a forward observation post on a prominent ridge crest overlooking the primary American advance route. Crucially, they positioned this installation at an accurately measured distance of 800 yards from the forward Marine lines. This was no accident. The distance was precisely calculated based on captured American ordnance manuals and observation of their general engagement patterns. The Japanese commanders knew that at 800 yards, they were effectively immune from all standard infantry rifle fire. They could operate lights, receive radio transmissions, and direct devastating mortar fire onto the exposed American positions below without fear of lethal retaliation. They used the relative safety of the distance to move troops and supplies with minimal concealment, believing that the only threat was slow, inaccurate artillery. This arrogant security allowed the Japanese to exert relentless pressure, turning the American advance into a costly stop-start nightmare. The Marine Company was trapped, pinned down by the superior observation and fire direction originating from this 800-yard sanctuary. Every plan to move forward hinged on silencing that high ground, but the traditional methods, calling in airstrikes or waiting hours for mortar support, were too slow, costing American lives and momentum. This tactical arrogance, the certainty of their distance-based immunity, provided the perfect, critical target for the scorned prototype rifle, forcing the Marine to step outside all established rules of engagement and prove his weapon's impossible capability. The moment came when the trapped Marine Company could endure the Japanese harassment no longer, forcing the lone marksman to execute the 800-yard test. Defying the explicit orders of a junior officer who called the attempt suicidal fantasy, the Marine set up his prototype rifle in an improvised forward position. The physical struggle alone was monumental. The massive weight required careful bracing to ensure the rifle would remain perfectly still during the shot, and the scope had to be adjusted with painstaking, millimeter-precise clicks. The challenge was not just distance, it was physics. At 800 yards, the standard .30 caliber round would drop approximately 28 to 30 feet, meaning the Marine had to aim incredibly high, accounting for wind drift and the subtle Coriolis effect. Using the wind flags and his own meticulous calculations developed over months of private practice, he made the final, crucial adjustments. He held his breath, squeezed the specialized trigger, and the prototype bucked with a heavy, satisfying thud. The time the bullet took to travel the 800 yards felt like an eternity. The first shot, aimed at the embrasure of the machine gun nest, landed with a precise, sickening thwack of wood and steel, followed instantly by the silence of the enemy gun. The second shot, aimed at the officer commanding the post, landed with similar finality. The American line, accustomed only to hearing distant machine gun chatter, was momentarily silent, stunned by the single deliberate reports of the distant rifle. The find. Marine continued his systematic fire, delivering round after round with devastating accuracy into the panic and chaos erupting on the enemy ridge, shattering the Japanese belief in the sanctity of their distance-based sanctuary. The scorned weapon was instantly vindicated, proving its lethal capacity precisely where military science said it was impossible. The impact of the prototype surgical fire was not measured in gradual suppression, but in immediate, catastrophic annihilation, culminating in the 42-man tally. The initial shock of the extreme-range hits on the command post triggered instant panic among the Japanese troops who were operating in the assumed safety of the 800-yard zone. They believed they were safe, operating in the open and moving in groups, which provided the Marine with multiple, static targets. The Marine's methodical fire was relentless. He methodically eliminated communications personnel, reserve troops scrambling for cover, and essential communications gear. The high-powered scope and the rifle's precision allowed him to achieve kills that were previously only possible with a direct hit from artillery, but with the surgical speed and accuracy of a sniper. As the chaos escalated, reserve troops rushed forward to see what had happened to the communications center, inadvertently massing in the exact killing field established by the prototype. The heavy barrel and meticulously tuned action ensured that the rifle never lost its zero, allowing the Marine to continue delivering precise lethal fire for the full duration of the engagement. The casualty count was staggering. 42 confirmed dead, including 2 critical communication officers, the entire machine gun crew, and key forward observers. This massive, unexpected loss of life at an impossible range did more than just kill soldiers. It vaporized the entire command structure of that sector, turning the carefully ordered defensive line into a state of leaderless, panicked retreat, proving definitively that the ridicule of the prototype was rooted only in ignorance of its massive, overwhelming capability. The true significance of the 800-yard test lay not just in the number of bodies, but in the ensuing, the tactical collapse of the entire Japanese defensive sector. The strategic advantage held by the Japanese was instantly eliminated by the reality that their safe zone no longer existed. Their command structure, which relied on the ability of the ridgetop officers to visually direct fire and coordinate attacks, was utterly wiped out. Without the communication officers, the forward observers, and the machine gun nests, the Japanese positions closer to the American lines lost their essential coordination and quickly disintegrated. Mortar teams could no longer receive coordinates. Interlocking fire could not be sustained, and the entire complex defensive network, which was designed to consume Marine manpower slowly and methodically, suddenly found itself blind and leaderless. The American company, previously pinned down and bleeding, seized the opportunity granted by the shock and silence on the ridge. They advanced rapidly and secured the high ground with minimal resistance, achieving a breakthrough that had seemed impossible just hours before. This singular action by the Marine and his customized rifle had done the work of an entire artillery battalion, demonstrating that targeted, extreme-range precision could be a far more efficient and surgical means of collapsing entrenched defenses than massive, indiscriminate shelling. The entire event sent a chilling message through the Japanese command. No distance was safe anymore, forcing them to reevaluate their entire defensive posture and move critical assets much farther back, crippling their ability to effectively observe the American movements. The aftermath of the 800-yard test was the undeniable conclusion. The end of mockery. The overwhelming success of the prototype rifle, the surgical elimination of 42 enemy troops at a distance considered untouchable, served as an instant, visceral vindication of the Marines' individual innovation. The very officers who had questioned the rifle's bulk and impracticality now sought out the marksman, demanding explanations and seeking ways to replicate the weapon's devastating accuracy. The logistical concerns about standardization instantly evaporated in the face of the massive tactical victory. The cost of one custom rifle was negligible compared to the cost of American lives and lost momentum the weapon saved. The fundamental lesson learned on that ridge was that battlefield necessity dictates gear. A specialized mission requires a specialized tool, even if it is non-standard, cumbersome, or initially mocked by those who adhere strictly to doctrine. The legacy of the prototype was profound. It forced the U.S. military to officially acknowledge the requirement for specialized, heavy-barrel, long-range sniper platforms capable of engaging targets beyond conventional limits, leading directly to the evolution of modern precision shooting rifles. The scorned Marine and his customized weapon proved that a single, accurate shot delivered at the perfect, extreme moment can alter the course of an entire battle, silencing all doubt and forever etching the principle of specialized precision into the doctrine of modern warfare.